Welcome to Middle of the Road Podcast, where tonight we're going to talk a couple awesome things that's come over the past week. The inception of bringing back an old legend and the inception of a new legend.
Yeah.
My name is Cam Gillens, and like always, along for the journey is my good buddy, Andrew McCormick.
What's up?
All right. Our first topic tonight that we're going to talk about is the news that Volkswagen is bringing back the Scout name.
Yes.
For people that don't know about the Scout name, it was initially a little SUV 4x4 back in the 70s, 60s, 70s. There was a couple of different sizes. There was the Scout and the Scout 2. Kind of almost similar situation that the Bronco did. And they used kind of the similar setup as like the AMCs did back in then. They had your regular 6-cylinder. They had a smaller V8. And they shared out a lot of that with their truck named the Harvester. And I think it's kind of a cool homage that Volkswagen's bringing it back, because it's just one of those names that kind of almost has a cult following.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm part of that because growing up, my dad had actually few that he got from one of his buddies that just kind of sat in our garden.
Mm-hmm.
But sat in our garden for years, and then eventually my brother got one when he lived in Casper that he drove for a few years, towing anything and everything that he could have. It's like I said, just kind of a cool situation that just out of the blue, Volkswagen's bringing back the name.
Oh yeah, probably in response to the Bronco.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a lot of it too, is the response to how well the Bronco has done. And that's just it. Volkswagen is bringing it back to be, I'm assuming, to be a competitor of the Bronco, but it's going to be a complete EV.
Yep.
So I guess more or less will be direct competitor of like your Hummer.
Yeah.
EV and whatever other one's coming out. Does Rivian have one SUV?
I've only seen their truck so far.
Okay, it's just a truck so far. For some reason, I thought they might have one, but I'm sure eventually everyone's going to bring out a cool 4x4
Yeah.
EV.
Don't think a full EV 4x4 is a good idea, but you don't know.
Well, we've already kind of talked about reasons why on that, but I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, there's a lot of hype. I mean, they're doing some good stuff with the 4x4s. I mean, you've got that full racing league that's kind of Dakar / Baja trucks.
Mm-hmm.
That's going on right now. That's fully EV, and they're going across the world and taking all these really big, well-known rallycross racers or motocross racers, for that matter, and taking them all over the world. I mean, it's got Tanner Faust with McLaren this year. That's how big this is.
Wow.
You got teams like McLaren, and I know Pro Drive's got a team, and there's a few others that it's got their teams, and it's really big right now. And I think that's kind of what Volkswagen's trying to bank on, is trying to get in a market that they haven't had, but also kind of building on an established name that they kind of picked up over the years. I guess for what I understand, that Volkswagen kind of picked up the pieces of International Harvester with one of their subsidiaries over a few years ago. I guess it was one of their military armored vehicle companies. that actually picked up the name.
Oh,
And for whatever reason, and they've had international, and still used it on some other programs that they've had. They've got a program with the top kicks that GM has made that they've branded international that I've seen. And that's kind of a pipe dream that I've had, is maybe bringing them along with a scout. They're going to bring back the Harvester name and actually bring a truck out. Wouldn't that be cool?
yeah. Hell yeah, it would.
I mean, I know they're Volkswagen's still playing with the idea of bringing back the Van Wagon with a full EV.
I've seen that. That thing looks badass.
Yeah. It's just why I think, like, that's what I'm saying. I think they're playing a lot of this now nostalgia.
Nope.
I mean, like I said, with the van again, and then bringing the scouts, I'm really hoping they play it and bring back the Harvester as well. I think it'd be really cool.
Probably eventually.
And I'm sure you guys realized on this podcast before, I'm kind of a more nostalgic person. I love kind of the weird little cars,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just really cool. Like me and Andrew were talking about those old trucks like that. And another one that I've always really loved is the Studebaker line brand.
Oh yeah.
Just so cool. Just these rare trucks and stuff like that. As I was telling Andrew before, there's been a couple like race trucks, like drag trucks and gasser trucks for that reason that's popped in. And one of the big ones is the International, and it's just so cool because it's so different. And I think that's why I've always loved International, Studebaker, some of those old weird brands. I mean, AMC for that matter.
Yeah.
Because I grew up being a Jeep fan.
Yeah.
I mean, from the time I started driving from about now, I think we've had probably close to about 10 Jeeps. I mean, I've had 2 personally. I had my old 04 Grand Cherokee, and I had a 94 Cherokee.
Yeah.
With the old school 4.0s. I'm one of those people. I know we've talked about Jeeps before on the show, like their new program with the inline 6. That's why it's kind of hit me so well, is because it brings back the nostalgia of how damn awesome that old 4.0 was.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that new one they've got is going to be even more badass, but even for a more different reason.
Yeah. I've always been a diesel guy.
I know you've been diesel guy
whole life.
And I've heard really good stories about that new diesel, the eco diesel that they're putting in them and stuff like that. I've heard really good reviews on that.
Yeah. I drove one of those. They are pretty badass.
So I seen a EV, one of the hybrids ones, a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Oh, I was going to tell you. I didn't tell you this. Here's a hell of a tangent. Hell of a tangent one for tonight. So I was driving back from Evanston, Wyoming last week, and I saw something that completely blew my mind. I heard that they were talking about making, but I actually wasn't really sure that they were making them. Duramax Tahoe.
Yeah, it's about time. I mean, they talk about it
forever.
I
know. I mean, obviously, I think it was one of those cases that it kind of people were doing them, so they finally decided what to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the same reason. Let's be honest, that was the only reason that Dodge brought the 392 and the Wranglers. Yeah. Because there were so many aftermarket companies out there shoehorning them already in. I just think it became such a necessity to actually need one brought from factory.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if somebody's manufacturer would just listen to what the people want, like Ford, I think they did with the new Bronco, because if they'd have made it any other style of
Well, I mean,
Bronco, it wouldn't have
we've
done as
talked
well.
about. I don't think they've listened to us fully on it, but
Well, yeah, because V8. I'm talking looks wise. The body they
no,
did
no, they
perfect.
hit it out of the ballpark for that.
Yeah, I mean we could go into the Blazer if you'd like.
Oh, stop.
Yeah.
We've already brought that up enough.
Oh, it's never enough. Chevy needs to
No, it's
be penalized for what they did, how they ruined it.
mm-hmm.
But the one thing I want to see come back is the Excursion with
Yeah,
the
that
new
actually would
diesel
be
in it.
that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't think they will. It's too big.
No.
They won't meet EPA standards on it for
Oh,
sure.
there's no way. There's no way.
And just, I mean, it's basically a F-250 frame. People already
Mhm.
complain about big trucks enough. So
Mhm.
bringing back an SUV and that, yeah, I just don't think it'll. I mean, the Expedition
Mhm.
is big enough if you want a big
Mhm.
SUV from Ford. But that is nostalgia for me. I've always loved the Excursion. Mostly
Mhm.
because I love the way the back opens up, you know?
Mhm.
Like my Tahoe,
They
it
were the
had
full barn doors, weren't they?
they had the two bottom doors that would open up like regular doors, and then the glass would open upwards.
Okay.
Yeah,
For
I
some reason,
love
I
it.
thought they were the full barn doors.
No, that was my Tahoe. I had the two
Mhm.
doors that open. I
Mhm.
hated it because they didn't have windshield wipers on the back. So cruising down the road in a wet, sandy storm or whatever,
Mhm.
rainstorm, you couldn't see out your back windows.
Mhm.
Hated my Tahoe for that. And then, I mean, obviously you get the hatchback version of the Tahoes, and you can get the hatchback versions of every SUV. But the Expedition or the Excursion had the little half doors that would open like regular
Mhm.
doors, and then the window would
Mhm.
fold up. I thought
Yeah.
that was awesome. I
Mhm.
love that idea.
Mhm.
But I mean, what's the one that has the tailgate style? Oh, the Range Rover, I think, Evoque. How the bottom opens like a tailgate and the window folds up.
Mhm.
That's a decent idea, but I think the Excursion had the best
That
back
was kind of a
ever.
weird one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's just putting that little tailgate down, and it's always going to be in your way to get into the back of it.
Mhm.
That's why the hatches work so well. But I'm a tall guy, so every hatch now,
We're both tall
yeah,
guys.
yeah. So every hatch doesn't matter what it's on, it opens,
Mhm.
and I got a duck under it. But it's perfect for my wife.
Mhm.
But the Excursion is just a big guy truck. Well,
Mhm.
big guy SUV, you know. And I think it would
Mhm.
be badass if they brought something like that back with the
Mhm.
new 6.7 in it, 10-speed transmission. Oh,
Or just go full bore and bring out the Godzilla in it.
oh, 7.3.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, they could. I'd bring them both back because I like the 7.3, but I will always be a diesel guy.
I know. I know.
If
We know.
yeah, yeah, I mean, oh, it's in my blood. I bleed
Mhm.
green,
Mhm.
and it's just because the diesel truck has never let me down.
Mhm.
But I can't say that because my Tahoe never let me down either, and I beat the shit out of that poor thing.
Well, as I like we've talked about how it had electrical problems, but
Yep. No, I just if I can buy it in a diesel, I pretty much will.
mhm.
Doesn't matter what it is.
That's why I think it's really interesting that they finally decided to put the diesel, the Duramax in it. I
Yeah,
think it's really rad.
that's a badass idea.
It is.
And I know Tracy told me that the 7.3 was never put in the Excursions.
Mhm.
But I was like, no, they did. They put the 7.3 in them because that's one of the
I'm pretty
reasons
sure
that
I've
I loved them.
seen a couple of them
Yeah.
actually.
The one of the guys I work for here at Harley has the 7.3 Excursion
Mhm.
diesel. I was like, I knew they made it.
Mhm.
And
I think it was maybe a year or two. I don't think they've made very
there
many of
wasn't
them.
very many, but there were some.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, then going back old school Fords, none of their engines were really reliable. The V10 Triton was a pile of junk,
Well,
constantly
I
having
mean,
fuel issues.
well, I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but I know we've me and Andrew's talked about the old spark plug being blown out of where they were supposed to, type of a thing, and
Yep.
just junked up the cylinder heads, which was really common for those old single overhead cam
Yep.
Ford engines,
The 5.4 Triton,
the Tritons.
complete junk.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked the way they sounded. Like, there's a dude I worked with. He had a Triton in his truck that he had done some exhaust work to, and I mean, it sounded all right. But at that point, it's like, just if you're gonna buy that kind of truck, just buy the diesel. You have less issues. You'll still have issues because any of the old diesel Fords were piles of garbage.
Well, it seems the more I actually look into them, is all those old diesels had more electrical problems than anything.
Yeah. Just, and I don't want to buy a truck that I have to bulletproof just for it to drive. I prefer a truck like I've got. You do whatever the hell you want to it, and it just keeps on taking it, and you get in it, and you're, you can rely on it for whatever the hell you want it to do.
Well, and I talk about that. That's why I kind of go back to what my drag truck was when I first got it. Was the old initial TBI, the first fuel injection and the trucks that GM had. And damn, it wasn't the most efficient way of doing it, but damn, it just worked.
Yeah, it worked. And that's what you want in vehicles, reliability.
That's just, you still see shitloads of them right now. And it's all because it damn worked. Yep. It was actually really simple the way it worked, and you could still get parts because they made so goddamn many of them.
Yep.
And that's just it. They weren't the most powerful truck engine, but it's what I grew up with. Yep. Like, period. My first actual vehicle I drove had it in it. It's the truck that my dad had practically since I was born until I was in freshman in high school had it in it.
Yeah.
It just damn worked.
Yeah. I grew up with Fords. And I always remember my grandpa cussing them out. And I was like, I'm going to buy a Chevy when I get older. And I did. Anything, in my opinion, is anything below 2011, go Chevy. But anything after 2011, I would go Ford.
See, and that's just the thing. It seems like at that point is when it started shifting to where all of them were really close.
Yeah. Well,
what changed then?
Ford came out
with the Coyote.
They brought out the Coyote. They brought out the 6.7 that they built from all their failures, the 6.4, the 6.0, the 7.3. My truck has every piece that worked out of all of those in it. And then whatever they added to make it better. The only thing I do not like about my truck is its ceramic ball bearing turbo. I don't like that. But they did the ceramic ball bearings to quiet it down because of noise emission bullshit. So that's like the first thing when I get a chance to is that I'm going to replace that with a steel ball bearing turbo. But that was the one failure on Ford. But they were probably required to do something about the turbo noise because now I still have the same turbo on it, but I did a delete and it's become super loud. So I can only imagine a steel ball bearing running right now in it. But whatever they did, they messed up with the ceramic ball bearings. I've heard a lot of bad things. When they detonate, they take the whole engine. Excuse me.
That's any bearing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah. But then they came out with the EcoBoost, which is a just ungodly, indestructible engine.
And that's just the thing. I heard they had turbo problems with them the first couple of years too, though.
Yeah. The EcoBoost was a completely redesigned engine.
I know.
It's the same thing with the 6.7. When I was going to college, first person that told me that the engine is reversed, and what he meant by reversed is it breathes from the bottom to the top. It was Tracy. He told me, oh yeah, that engine has the intake is reversed. It sucks in through the bottom and blows out through the top, which shortens turbo lag. And then to come to find out, Porsche does the same thing with the 918, is it breathes like that. And it makes the flow to the exhaust ports on the turbo really short, so it spools really fast. And if there's anything, my truck never has turbo lag. Even flooring it from the light, it's 2 seconds and the thing's spooled up.
Did that change when you chipped it and all that?
No.
because I remember when we were in the colleges, single cab, extended bed, the full size bed, and to me, I didn't really like it because I felt the turbo lag in it.
Yeah. And that I drove that truck a couple times, and it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like my truck. And when
Mhm.
I took Tracy, we went to
Well-
Ford that day to get the fuel filter cap because we broke it because they made that out of plastic, which is also a flaw. It's stupid.
Mhm.
He even said that the truck felt different, but that was all stock. That was before I even had the chip.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the way Ford handles their classes of their truck, like maybe because the college truck was an XLT version,
Yeah.
the lowest end.
I know, and that's the thing. You bring that up. I've had actually a couple experiences. It's kind of the same thing. My dad's old 2013 3/4 ton HG regular 6.0 gasser. He had a few actual coworkers that supposedly had the same spec engine, transmission, the whole 9 yards, and for whatever reason, they couldn't keep up with his.
Was this a higher class?
No, it was supposed to be the exact same truck, but the only thing we could think of is not my dad's, but his coworkers was a work truck. I mean, it was still 4-wheel drive the whole 9 yards, but for whatever reason, it was an actual work truck. I mean, it had to crank up windows the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the class. It was like
yeah, I know.
a base
that's why
model.
I said that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
So even though it supposedly still had the same spec camshaft, intake, the whole 9 yards, it leads me to believe that maybe they play with the actual tuning and the ECUs and stuff like that a little bit different between, like you said.
That's what I was
the only
thinking.
thing I could think of, because was the college's 4-wheel drive?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why I'm guessing it was the same thing as they played with. Well, I mean, Ford did not, for whatever reason, they tuned it differently. I don't know this for a fact. It's just what it feels like.
What I assume is, okay, so let's go off of my style truck. My truck, when it was brand new, was a $60,000 truck.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want your customer to go buy a $60,000 truck and have the $20,000 version outperform it.
Mm-hmm.
So they make it that way. They program the $20,000 truck to be slower than the $60,000 truck.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, that would piss me off if my buddy went and got the cheaper version of my truck and it was faster, and the only thing I got was better seats and auto climate control. I'd be a little pissed.
I mean, welcome to the world of new cars these days. Let's be honest here.
I mean, and to me, that's fair. If you're going to spend the extra money on the truck, you want it to outperform the lower versions.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. I mean, everybody says, "Oh, go buy the XLT and you can make it a King Ranch." You can't, though. You know, because that's what I believe is that Ford does that. They down tune those trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what you do to it, it'll never be on the same level.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and like my assistant manager was talking about, we were talking about his Mach-E yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got a Mach-E.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool. It is pretty cool. It's a little different than I expected. It's actually rear-wheel drive bias. I had no clue. He said it's all-wheel drive until 25 miles an hour, then it switches to the rear.
Huh.
I had no clue. I thought it was just like everything else would be front-wheel drive bias, but he said it's not. He says if he's gone to a couple places, a couple times where he actually kicked it sideways a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. But anyway, where I was going with that, we were just kind of talking. It costs 11 grand. I shit you not, 11 grand just for a stereo kit. That's the only thing difference between the one he's got and the one that's next above that. 11 grand just for stereo. Well, pretty
much, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I mean, there's a lot of things at bay that could happen, and who knows? Maybe they do. I'm play with the tune a little bit because I know at least there's definitely some things that GM has done to their ECUs and stuff like that, the tuning for safety or emissions or whatever, just by some of the videos I've watched and stuff.
No, that's what I fully believe. Is that if you're going to buy the King Ranch or the Platinum versions, you want them to outperform the lower versions.
Well, I mean, I agree with you.
And
I mean, that's how it's always been. But
and if Ford's trying to hide it, I agree with them.
For the last, it seems like probably 20 years, these automakers don't have that many engine options anymore. Like how back in the old 60s and 70s, well, I don't even know, even 70s, it was the 60s. Maybe early 70s, they would have like 4 or 5 engine options for these things.
Yep.
Yeah, some cars had the 4-banger, 6-banger, V8, the huge V8.
Yep.
And then maybe a trim or two all between all of those.
Yep. That came through a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. But yeah, that's that type of a thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with Ford if they're doing that. I agree with all auto manufacturers if they do that. It's fair to their customers. I mean, if you could go and buy a $20,000 version of a $60,000 truck and just put better seats and stuff in it and have a better truck for a fraction of the cost, then it's bad for them, and it's not really fair for the guys that want the higher end packages. So good on you for doing that.
I agree with you if you're going to do that. But to me, it almost seems like if you're going to go take that far, actually play with the specs and stuff like that instead of you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Don't hide
it like a trim or two in the camshaft or something like even play with compression even.
Yep. I think they're scared to say that they do that. If they actually do it, I mean, right now what we're talking about is a conspiracy theory.
I mean, I don't even know if it's that. I mean, we're not saying anything bad.
No.
I really don't know if it's a conspiracy theory.
Well, yeah, kinda, just maybe. But I mean, something is up with what they do. There has to be, because like you said, the same exact versions of the same exact truck, one is slower than the other with the same exact engine and everything. If anything, the lighter, cheaper version should be faster because it's got less weight in it. Because if you look at the XLT version of my truck, it doesn't have, it has crank windows. It doesn't have any kind of stereo system in it. I have a subwoofer. I think I have 2 subwoofers. No, I have 1 subwoofer in the back. Plus my seats have heating and cooling. I have auto climate control, all kinds of extras, you know, so that's all weight added. Those XLT versions, they have crank windows, plastic floor liners, cloth seats, stereo system. Some of them don't even have 4-wheel drive. They should be faster, but they're not. So something's up.
Well, I mean, who knows? It might not even be in the engine. I know there is different packages have different rear end gear ratios and stuff like that. And that's another thing. We've talked about my dad's truck from his old one to his new one. His old 2013 had actual 410s in it from GM, and his new one I think has got 373s in it.
Yeah.
And that's maybe another thing. I don't know. I know a lot. You could get different trim packages with the different rear end gears, and I'm sure going along with that is you're gonna have to tune the transmission a little bit different.
Maybe
so you might have the same engine, but I'll have different rear end ratios, and even it might even have the same. It might just be the way transmission shifting.
Yep.
Because we all know a lot of these transmissions these days actually adapt to how you drive.
Oh yeah. My truck warns me that it does that.
Mm-hmm.
I can do a reset on my truck itself, and it says for the first 30 miles the truck is going to act different because it's learning
Mm-hmm.
my drive pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and it really does.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll automatically do it over a certain period of time too.
Mm-hmm.
But I drive so different that it's like the transmission's probably thinking, okay, today we're going to drive like this, and then 2 minutes later I'm driving completely different. Depends on who pulls up next to me at the light, which is anybody that looks at me and rolls forward.
I mean, any car person's
Oh
like
yeah,
that. Let's be honest
yeah.
here.
I look over. I don't care if she's 80 years old. She initiated the race. It's on.
She initiated the race.
She scooted forward a little bit. We made partial eye contact. She's gonna see. I'm gonna teach her minivan a lesson.
Be careful. Some of these days, those minivans could get pretty nasty.
I can say that I was impressed. Oh, probably 2 years ago, and it stuck with me. The little old lady in a PT Cruiser. No, not the PT Cruiser. What was the one that looked like PT Cruiser? Oh, Chevy made it. HHR?
Oh, HHR.
Yeah, it was the turbo
Mhm.
version. She actually raced me.
Mm-hmm.
Little old gray-haired lady.
Mm-hmm.
Lost.
She lost.
But she raced me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I used to have, I mean, I know you could build a living hell out of those little Ecotechs.
Yep.
I mean, to the point where GM actually put out I've got it on my phone, to tell you the truth, the guides how to build them to like 1,200 to 1,500 horsepower.
Jesus.
I mean, they used to have programs in Formula Drift or actually NHRA.
Yeah.
That's had those engines, and this guide I think had all that, and I think it also had land speed racing packages in it.
Wow.
They took the crazy Saturn package. I guess Saturn actually sponsored a team for it.
Wow.
Back in the like mid 2000s. I was like, that's pretty crazy. For a manufacturer to sponsor a land speed team. That's pretty rad.
Must have seen something that they wanted to do and they did it.
Yeah.
I got some shit that I want to do, Ford. Got some shit I want to do, Ford. Yeah. Some sponsorship would be great.
Mm-hmm.
It revolves around an electric HD pickup truck, which is, well, not a full electric, obviously. I don't really believe in that, but some plans and ideas. Just need the shit to do it. Because I could probably close their gap on their HD electric hybrid systems. It's a good idea. Sponsorship. It will be badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we've already talked about that on the show too. Is there's a need for a heavy duty, either hybrid or full electric.
I mean, there's a need, and they're playing with them, but so we've already established it. We have a full show based on this, but yeah, it's just one of those things where eventually it's gonna have to go that way, just the way the EPA rules and government rules and stuff like that. It's gonna have to get to that point at some
point.
time.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there's not a letdown with the International Scout. I know we're not the International VW Scout, because that's what we're talking about. We kind of skewed way off of that one.
Oh, I mean, we did, but
I don't.
Yeah.
If they're gonna bring it back, don't let us down, because that is a nostalgic truck, and I'm tired of the nostalgia getting stomped all over. And it's, yeah, I mean, they have a potential there because of the Hummer. I mean, that's an impressive, from what I've heard, an impressive off-roader, but I highly doubt that any of them have ever seen off-road. You know, all the people that own them, it's a mall crawler. But I'm hoping.
I mean, let's be honest, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque is not going to be off-road. If you are, you might wreck it. You might wreck it.
But I mean, if you don't want it to be an off-roader, don't make it a Hummer.
No, I know.
You know, and if you're gonna make it a mall crawler, there's other options, new platforms. Just start there. Leave the nostalgic shit alone. Let it die.
Mm-hmm.
But I see the international, or God, I keep calling it the international. What I know it as.
See, there you go. Here you go. Yep, that's exactly it.
I'm just gonna call it the Scout.
That's what it
I'm gonna
is.
try to call it the Scout, but it's been an international
and
Scout
that's
from
just it.
forever.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they deal with it because the Scout's the actual brand. They're bringing it as the brand, and that's why if they do bring back like the Harvester name for like a truck, because they are bringing out a truck. They just haven't said what it's gonna be named. It's gonna be Scout Harvester or something like that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of weird, but at the same time, it still give you that. If that's indeed what they named it, it'd be really cool.
I hope it looks like the picture. I think they've seen Bronco come back with the old school nostalgic body, and then like that really worked. Because if you look at the picture, it looks like the old school Scout with new lines. Well, not newer lines, just more futuristic lines off the old body style. And that's what I'm hoping for. It's gonna have stupid ass headlights. I know that for a fact. It just seems to be what they love doing is those squinty ass stupid headlights. But
I mean,
if they work, they work.
I mean, all those what besides being electric, well, all those have in common. Most of them.
You got me on that one.
Most of them are American brands.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about German here.
What's the Rivian?
I think it's American. Yeah,
Rivian's American.
I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure.
Hummer's American. Jeep is American-ish.
American with, I mean, it's an American brand, but it's got European.
I'm trying to defend you, America, right now, but you came out with stupid headlights, and I can't think of anything from overseas that has those stupid ass headlights.
I mean, there's difference. I mean, we're talking about the country that most of their brands have on hand 100 engineers just for the damn beeps in the cars.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to stand for squinty ass headlights?
Oh, I don't know. I just hope it has normal ass headlights.
I mean, we've both seen the Mercedes stuff they're working on. They don't have squinty ass headlights.
No.
They're just regular LED headlights, most of them.
Some of them have those, what are they called? The laser headlights or something? That actually adjust to the car coming at you instead of adjusting themselves. Yeah, that's coming to America. I've seen that.
Once again, German.
Yep.
I tell you, we had this conversation at work yesterday. One of my coworkers comes in. It's not excuse me. He's not a coworker. He was an old worker where I work, and he was talking to one of my coworkers. He's like, "Oh, I love my Japanese," and then my coworker is like, "Yeah, you won't say what you get in a German car."
Right. The Germans just know how to build stuff.
Well, that's just it. I have like the base model Volkswagen Jetta, and just that's going from that until to same year Impreza is light and days difference.
Oh yeah.
My parents had about to sit, like I said, the exact same year Impreza, and it was just jankety as hell.
Yeah.
Completely jankety. It just feel like it's. I mean, it might just because I was so used to driving my German-made Volkswagen and driving it practically on the limit almost 100% of the time because that's how I love driving it because it can take it and go into that. And it just, to me, almost felt like it would fall apart under me. It was just that night and day difference. Agreed. For a car that costs on the market exact same price. Because legitimately, the day I would bought that Jetta, there was a 2015 hatchback Impreza, exact same price.
Wow.
And I just I grew up, but people around me just loved Jettas. They're the Volkswagens, even the early to mid 2000s Jettas, everyone just loved.
Yeah.
And I got in it and fell in love because I just love how the feeling of it.
Yeah.
You can actually feel the car underneath you.
That's what we want. We
I
want
mean,
quality.
this is a base model car. Just imagine you spend double the price of that.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, do you think they're going to stand for this squinty ass headlights?
God, I
don't think so.
I hope not. I don't know. I haven't seen the performance of those squinty ass headlights, but I assume it has to have some kind of standard. That it has to have a certain luminescence for a certain distance.
I'm sure it does as well.
And maybe another headlight that's blurred in with the fascia comes on later, but I know Ford. I can defend it with a Ford. The Ford Lightning. It has that beam that goes around on the outside.
They're just regular headlights, aren't they?
On the inside, they're regular headlights. Thank you,
there
Ford.
You go.
Yeah, Chevy. You want to get into Chevy? I can get into Chevy real quick.
Well, I mean, I'm a Chevy. We've established this too. I have a lot to say about Chevy, and I'm a Chevy guy.
Yep. I'm just saying Chevy really messed up with their headlights on their trucks. They went from really awesome headlights to really blocky headlights to really squinty headlights.
But at the same time, this is the same company that has 20 damn grills for same damn truck.
Yep. And the Blazer.
Well, yeah.
The not Blazer.
The not Blazer.
Yep. I'm just saying right now, Ford's got my back pretty good. Bronco, beautiful. Mustang has never really ever gone away. It's just been increased. And then I don't even want to talk about the Mach-E, but they can have one. I wish they wouldn't have called it the Mustang. We've talked about that before.
That we've talked about this before, but at the same point, everything that they've kind of tried within the last 20 years, putting a different name on it, it just hadn't worked.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Focus.
Yeah.
The Flex.
Fusion.
The Fusion.
Which is basically a four-door Mustang. To an extent.
Don't say that. You're a Ford guy. Don't put that on you.
The only reason that I say that is the buddy we went to college with, he had one. And when I first seen that car, I walked out of the gym and I looked at it and I said, "Oh, you got a Mustang." Only reason I say that, because I could only see the front quarter panel and the front window-ish of that car. And I was like, but it's got a weird looking smaller hood. I said, what kind of Mustang is that? And he kept looking at me funny. And he's like, it's not a Mustang, it's a Fusion. That is the only reason I say it kind of looks like a Mustang, because when I first glanced at it, it looked like a Mustang. After seeing the entire car, obviously not. But, I mean, they're nice cars. The Fusion was a nice car. Everybody's bagging on them for some reason right now, though. I like them. They're all right cars.
I say I would take a show any damn time.
Oh,
give me
God,
a show.
Yes. Obviously, the show. That is a badass car. 24 valve. The things were monsters. I remember my buddy had an old school show. That thing was a goddamn monster.
They're crazy. The old ones are really crazy.
Yeah. I was like, Taurus show. I had never heard of one before. And it looked like the boxy Taurus. What year was it? I can't even. I don't even care. I don't even remember. And,
well, I mean, it was a classic '90s Taurus.
Yeah, and I got in with him, and he's like, I was like, yeah, it's a Taurus. Why'd you buy a Taurus? Because at that time I didn't really know shit. And then he got on it, and I was like, I've never felt a Taurus do that before. And it just hauled ass. And it was stick shift, and yeah, it was pretty nice. After that, every time I heard the word show, I was like, yeah, that's a nice car. And they did a pretty decent job bringing out the show with the new ones, because they do look badass. But I mean, like I was saying, the Mustang has never really gone away. It's a good car. So obviously they're going to put the Mustang name on the Mach-E for a platform that they've never released before because of its name. Well, you go with what works. But that doesn't explain Dodge's idea with the frat Zog.
Oh my God!
I mean,
you just have to bring that up.
I do. I mean, it sucks that we're recalling other shows on a new show, but it goes to the branding.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about a Fratzog? Absolutely nothing. So they're dropping a new car into a market of people that know Dodge's stuff, like the Hellcat, the Charger, Vipers, you know, and now they're coming out with a Fratzog full electric.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they seen something there, and they didn't want to step on nostalgic ideas. But think about it. What is a Fratzog? You have no idea what is there. If they would have, what I wish they would have done was just said it's an e-charger, you know, electric charger. It's got charge in the name. They could have gotten away with that.
No, they couldn't have. You know that. We would bag on them just as much as we do the Mach-E and the soon to be had new Corvette SUV.
Oh God, the Nomad. I wouldn't have brought it up if you wouldn't have.
Well, oh, we were going there. I had to bring it up.
Yeah, okay. Well, see, that's coming from Chevy guy. You remember that one. So it better be badass because the Nomad was badass. But the Nomad was a wagon, you know?
Yeah, it was.
So they have a better footing there because the Nomad was a wagon. But calling it a Corvette, they had absolutely no reason to do that. Leave the Corvette out of it. Just call it a Nomad.
Well, I mean, we got to give them credit, though. They're actually going to give it some Corvette styling cues instead of the damn whatever they call the Mach-E. Why? Because it's got the sequential 3 lights in the back ass end. That's it. And has the pony. That's it.
Yep. I agree. I don't like. I mean, we've already went into depth about the Mach-E messing up, but
that's as much as I'm gonna get into it. Is that?
And they could, like I said, they could have just called it a Nomad, and it would have been just fine. But I think maybe it's a Corvette. The Corvette Fusion gave them the idea, and Corvette is a brand that works. Same thing with a Mach-E, and I'm hoping the Scout will hold on to its nostalgia coming out as full electric. It looks like it will. It comes down to the front fascia. And like you said, German, we have a higher likelihood of getting a normal ass looking front end. I don't care if you get rid of the radiator. I really don't. It doesn't need it. It's not there, but making the headlights look like these squinty little stupid.
Well, I mean, you say that. You say about the radiator. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't been around. I know a lot of the actual electrics can be liquid cooled.
Yeah. And I mean, at that
the motors and stuff like that. And at that point,
yeah.
To me, if you still could use a radiator.
Yeah.
But I know they're getting rid of it because of more aerodynamics.
Oh yeah. For sure. I mean, it all comes down at that point to aerodynamics, because getting rid of the radiator really isn't a necessity for an electric car because of the cooling feature that you could put there. But the aerodynamics. And I mean, talk about consistent torque with an electric motor. It wouldn't really matter 4 Newton meters you'll lose in airflow resistance to a radiator by just closing it off. Do like Jaguar or BMW does, where they have the active front.
Well, I mean, you're right. You could do that, and obviously there's a lot more actual airflow to go out than that. I mean,
I'm just going off of what Chevy did when they.
Well, I know you are. Yeah. I know, but we're just talking about radiator and not having a radiator type thing, and it goes back to the old school. To me, the example is NASCAR. Old school ways, they would actually tape off the actual radiator opening. And obviously it did enough that they all had to do it.
Yeah. To
the certain point, they outlawed it in the new generation cars.
They seen
it made that much of a difference.
Yeah.
So...
And then the Chevy thing, when they hollowed out the core of the on the Camaro, the Chevy emblem, because the dude's seen 4 Newton meters of airflow resistance right there. Maybe it made a difference.
Yeah,
It
that's
looks
what I'm
good.
saying. I mean, like I said, I can see why they're doing it because of that,
Yeah.
but who knows what the cooling properties? I mean, these are still platforms that's only been out a year or two. Who knows down the road when all these batteries and these windings start degenerating.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out sooner or later.
Yeah. And I mean all we've got going right now is just we know that the Scout's coming out. They show a side view. I seen a concept front view, but it's gonna if they're gonna make it an off road. If they want it to compete with a Bronco, it has to be able to perform off road, and not everybody's going to be followed around by a race team with a charger that you can charge on. So you need to get out to where you're four wheeling and back,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
how does a team of engineers
Mm-hmm.
make okay, so you want to take they're going to take it to Moab because that's the four-wheel capital destination.
Yeah.
So an international God, there it goes. The Scout is going to go out there and go to Moab and perform on that track.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it'll be cold out there. I don't know.
Maybe it will, or maybe not. I mean, like I said, Moab's kind of more of a American brand kind of wasteland type of a thing.
Well, if it's going to be sold in America, Americans are going to buy it.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, kind of the similar situation to the Germans and Nürburgring type of a thing.
Yeah,
they don't have. I mean, when you're talking about a European brand, you're not talking. You don't really think about their off-road capability. I mean, Land Rovers and stuff like that, but people that's watched Top Gear and it means over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They're marketed as off-roaders, but they really don't.
They don't
do the stuff that us Americans do. Let's be honest here.
They don't go in depth with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so the only thing because they don't really have anything on the market, but the one thing that I see that they're shooting at is the Bronco. So I would hope that they would compensate for.
I would also hope that, and I'm like I said, we're both hoping that that's the mark and target that they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, something it's got to be capable. Mm-hmm. If it's going to go up in a shooting match with something that already can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like the Jeep E 4xe.
Mm-hmm.
That is a beautiful design. I love it. I love the whole idea behind that. And
the hybrid.
When it comes down to four-wheel off-road competitors, it's always in my mind been the Bronco and the Jeep. So Jeep coming out with their electric version that has an engine behind it is more capable off-road electric vehicle than anything that's on the market right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what, you will be able to, if you get a low battery, your engine kicks on and charges it. And then it'll switch back to electric when it's got enough.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good idea.
It's a great idea.
You never know what's going to happen when you're four-wheeling. You go out one day, everything goes smoothly. You go out the second day, everything goes to hell.
Oh, been there, done that.
And you don't want to be out there with 50% battery.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that the Scout comes out and it can perform as it should, because back in the day, the Scout was a performer off-road.
Yeah, it was one of the really first well-known SUV off-roaders.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that they stick to that nostalgic portion of it, is that it can perform off-road like the old one. If not, then just make it a mall crawler.
Yep.
Make it look like a Chevy Blazer, and everybody will use it to go mall crawling. Sorry.
It's all good. No, I just have to laugh at you because I 100% agree with you. You know that.
I know. And I 100% agree that the Mach-E was a misbranded platform. It really was.
Yeah.
And we'll see with what the Corvette Nomad comes out to be. But only time will tell.
Yep.
We can say everything we want right now, but we'll eventually cover it in the future, I'm sure, if it comes out as shit.
Well, even if it doesn't come out as shit, we'll still talk about it. I mean, we'll talk about. I'm sure there's gonna be videos and
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
like that of tests and actually the concepts and stuff like that of it when it finally gets the green. I mean, it has gotten green light. It's official being. It just I think it's still in development stage.
Yep.
So we'll see it whenever it shows up, and we'll talk about it more because of this. But
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about it over its lifespan to being dropped too. I'm sure because you know we're going to keep an eye on it. It's just what we do. Got nothing else to do. But yeah. Speaking of Germans, might as well get to the second portion of this.
Our second topic we're going to talk about tonight is the inception and new drop of Mr. Ken Block.
Yep.
The Hoonipigasus.
Hoonipigasus.
Yes.
It is
such a horrible name. I'm sorry.
It is a god awful name. I hopefully he explains why.
Oh, I see it. I mean, it's. I mean, we talked about it before the show. I'm sure they're trying to play on the old school nostalgic livery that they're trying to achieve with that. I mean, being Porsche, the gnarliest actual race liveries, the race cars was called the Peak Pig.
Yeah.
And that's what they're trying to base off of, how gnarly it is, and being what their big sponsor of the car, Mobile One. That's interesting. That was the first thing I thought when I heard of the drop last night, is that Mobile One came on board with them, and it's kind of weird to me because he was Pennzoil for a while, and it just out of the blue type of a thing. But we're talking about Ken Block's new Pikes Peak Porsche.
Yep.
That's all. I mean, it's exactly what you would think of when you're talking about Ken Block taking a Pikes Peak time attack type of a Porsche. We're talking about the same type of style as his Mustang named the Hoonicorn.
Yep. It's all-wheel drive monster.
All-wheel drive. I mean, fully arrowed out. I mean, you just look at it, you could still see the inspiration of the old school Pikes Peak monsters.
For sure. Big ass wing in the back.
Big ass wing in the back, the splitter up front, and I'm sure there's gonna be a pretty gnarly diffuser out back as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, other than its name, which you said it could be a nostalgic idea, but
oh, it is. I mean, we're talking about Ken Block. He loves, and it's another one of the reasons I love all of his stuff is because he's not afraid to show some of the nostalgic.
Yeah, I like that about it. I like if you're gonna do car stuff, do it nostalgic. You'll get a better response. But yeah, I mean, and it's you'll see it coming. For sure, for a long ways. It's pink as hell.
Oh, it's pink. I mean, it's everything you would think about Ken. I mean, it's a fully designed livery, and just has a lot of incorporations of old school liveries and the whole 9 yards.
Yep. It looks weird, but I bet it'll perform amazing.
Well, it looks weird, and like I was telling Andrew, to me, it hides the lines of the car.
It does.
I mean, going back to seeing all the actual cars that had that livery style that it's based on, same thing.
Yep.
That pink just hides the lines of the car. I mean, we're going back to the old Le Mans prototype had that style of livery on it. Yep. And I thought the exact same thing. How badass and bitching that those old prototypes back that was fighting for Le Mans and Daytona and stuff like that. It had the lines, and I mean, I guess it's like I said, nostalgic type thing, but I think it would look so much better with the Hoonicorn type black on gray. Oh my hell. that thing would look so crisp.
Yep.
With that type of livery on it.
But if he went for people wanting to talk about it, he definitely nailed it.
I mean, obviously. I mean, yes. Once again, it's an all-wheel drive, 1,400 horsepower, mid-engined.
Yeah, is it mid or rear?
It says it's. I've read it's mid.
Mid.
It's that's just the craziness of it. It's exactly what you think. Now 1,400 horsepower is about the same amount that the Hoonicorn's making.
Yeah.
But this time it's out of a flat 6 instead of the V8.
Yep.
It's gonna be gnarly to hear.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And
can't wait
booms
for that.
of the wastegates and the boost controllers and the whole 9 yards of just hearing that going up the crazy peak that is Pikes Peak. I'm sure there's gonna be videos all over the craze once they actually do it.
Yep.
I'm sure he's gonna do his own without the Hoonicorn or the Hoonigan actual production crew. I'm sure they're gonna have the whole cut and the whole 9 yards of it. We all know this.
Wonder what he's allowed to do with it. Wonder if he'll do any kind of Gymkhana style stuff.
Oh, I'm sure you know as well as I do.
How long is it going to be before there's a drag race between the Hoonicorn and the Pegasus?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I'm going to keep if that happens. I hope it does. I'm hoping they do it. I mean, it is who they are, so we'll see what happens. I'm sure this Porsche might beat the Hoonicorn.
You think?
I just think that being mid-engined, I think it's gonna get it out of the hole. Just the squattiness that it's gonna do. It's just gonna hook, I think, a lot better than the front engine Hoonicorn.
I don't know. I want to see it. I hope we see it.
Oh,
I hope they do that.
Love to see it.
I mean, they're running a show that's the Hoonicorn versus the world, and now if that's in it, it's in the world. So let's race it. See what it does.
It's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be badass.
Like I said, I'm sure they're gonna use a whole lot of projects and stuff like that. But I just thought it was really cool because BBI Autosport, I mean, they're the ones that pretty much dominated Pikes Peak the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really cool that they did this project with them.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to see it in performance.
Oh, dude. I just can't wait to see that damn thing launch. It's going to be gnarly. It's going to be gnarly with that mid-engine.
Yep.
Being all-wheel drive. It's going to be spectacular.
Everything he's built so far is spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
He's had a hand in it. It's been amazing.
Uh-huh.
The Hoona truck, that thing's badass. The Hoonicorn, that is an amazing rebuild, restoration.
Mm-hmm.
And then this thing, I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Oh, it'll be interesting to see what the condition. I mean, okay, let's be honest. It was probably a nice Porsche. Let's be honest here. They probably found a really nice one and just completely
just built the shit
whole
out of
works to it.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's what I assume. Is that it is a new Porsche with just Ken Block all over it. Maybe. Is there any time, or is it just talking about it right now? Is
what?
That he's going to do something with it. He's going to do it at Pikes Peak.
Oh, it's Pikes Peak. Yeah, that's what it was built for. Okay. And that's what I read, that they're actually going to start testing it next week. So I just hope something doesn't go wrong.
Yeah.
That engine. That's what I'm really worried about. I mean, I know Hoonicorn went through an engine or two when testing for the Gymkhana video.
Well, I was hoping that Ken Block was going to do some like little trailer that he always does with whatever he releases. There's always like a little event before the event that he actually built it for.
Mm-hmm.
So he does like a little show off video.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if he had anything like that.
Like I said, it was just so fresh and it was just so out of the blue.
Probably not enough time.
That's what I'm guessing. There's not enough time, and I hope they don't run into problems because I can imagine that engine's probably even worse than that 410 was to get parts for. I would assume. I'm not 100% sure, but just knowing what I know, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be harder engine to get parts for.
Maybe. It's all we'll see kind of thing. If everything goes good, it's going to be interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly, you know Ken Block's going to just drive the shit out of it for one.
Oh, absolutely.
It is, and the sounds, it's going to sound amazing because
Oh, yeah.
it is the flat
I'm sure it's going to
six.
shoot fireballs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
For sure. That's almost, those are all guaranteed things.
It's going to be awesome to see that against that arrow. It's just going to be so rad.
Yep.
Like I said, that first hard launch is just going to be crazy, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And the thing about its name is it reminds me of the old Johnny Cash song, "A Boy Named Sue." You can talk shit, but all it's going to do is kick your ass.
Yeah.
You can call it,
that's absolutely true.
Talk shit about it, but when it smokes your ass anywhere you go, then it doesn't matter what it's called.
No, it doesn't.
And I'm sure people talking shit to him will fuel that rage to like smoke the shit out of them.
I'm sure.
Just like the boy named Sue. He's going to kick your ass if you pick on his name. Yeah, I just can't wait to see it go.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting on the edge of my seat like I have been for all of them.
We all will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I always follow Pikes Peak because it's, if not the greatest motorsport event of here in America, it's really, really close. I know it's one of the oldest running.
Yeah.
And like I wish I would have gotten to see the days where they actually drove it on the dirt going up that mountain. Holy shit, that would have been cool.
Yep. Long list of things I can't wait for. Just keeps growing.
And that's just that. Before we were just kind of just playing around what we're going to talk about tonight. We were going through all the old Pikes Peak build, like the most iconic legends and stuff like that. And man, those were killer.
Oh yeah,
vehicles, and one of them is actually returning this year, so I'm pretty excited for.
Hell yeah! Which one is that?
That Tundra.
Oh, the Tundra. That's right.
The Tundra of Rod Millen.
Yep.
The Millen family has practically been the saviors of Pikes Peak for the last pretty much since I've been alive. I mean, Reese, he's practically broken into all but one record that he's tried for. So, and multiple vehicles. I mean, he had his Genesis, his drifting Genesis, his Rallycross Veloster. He did it up that, and then that full completely prototype that they did with Hyundai was really gnarly. I think this year he's doing one of the Bentley GT cars. It's kind of a weird one, but
I don't know.
I'm sure it's gonna be crazy.
Watching which one was that on? Was it Top Gear where they took the fully stock GT Bentley on the Rallycross and it took third place? Yeah.
I mean, this is a pro built race car. I mean, pro built. Actually, it's probably the last time I knew it, the same company that's been making the Ford World rally cars is actually building them.
Yeah.
So I'm sure. I mean, it's being Reese. It's gonna be top of the line build. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
This is the same guy that built all the cars for Tokyo Drift, and actually drove in it too. Let's be honest here. He was one of the stunt drivers with Tanner Faust.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drive
one of the OGs of drift here in America.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of interesting things coming up.
Oh, I mean, it's just this time of year. You got that, in a couple of weeks you have the Indy 500, and it's always a great time of year this year is for motorsports.
Oh yeah, I like when new things show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The Pegasus.
The Pegasus, geez.
Whatever. Like I said, it doesn't matter what it's called as long as it performs.
Oh, it's going to.
Call it the SS shit show for all it matters as long as it performs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think that about does it for the show tonight. We had a really good time this last hour or so.
Yeah, it was good.
We took it quite a bit different directions than I was planning to, but I like it. So
that's what we do.
Yep. And as always, the show will be up on No Credit Required YouTube channel, as long with all the other popular podcast platforms. So
however you want to view it.
However you want to view it or listen to it, whatever is your forte, we'll have it on. And if always feel free to give us a like on our YouTube channel. Also subscribe.
Comments are very
all
welcome.
That jazz.
Yep.
Huh? What were you saying?
Comments are very welcome. Any
comments? It's all anytime. We've said that. We would really love to hear your feedback on all this stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure. You let us know and we'll do it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. It's been Middle of the Road Podcast, and thank you for listening.
Latest.